Alrighty, we're now recording. I will post this recording as soon as we get done. First note of business is tomorrow there will not be a live session. The sixth grade teachers are at school today, and they are working on NTI days 17 through I believe 27. So it's 10 more days. Seventh grade will be at school tomorrow. That's why we won't be having a live session. I have to make copies and do all the work that they've asked us to do. Thursday will be the eighth grade teachers, and it's my understanding that Friday is a makeup day for teachers that need to go back in or make packets up. And then I believe next week those packets will be available for pickup. And as you can see in Moodle, I'll share my screen. Let's see here. I think this is the right one. Okay, give me just a second here. All right, so we don't want that screen. We want the screen. Okay. I have begun setting Moodle up for those NTI days as well. So as you scroll down, I'm not going to make them available. I've had a couple of emails and questions. It doesn't make sense. I've never really believed in correspondence classes. For those of you that don't know what correspondence classes are, that's basically where you do the work, you mail in your work, your test or whatever, and your teacher grades it, and voila, you get it back. There's very little interaction in the course. There's very little communication, and it's not really conducive to the style of distance learning that I have been trained to deliver. So I keep the days closed on a day-to-day basis. And let me update this here. So we are on day 10 today. That should not, I don't think let me reload the page here. There we go. And that is open. So tomorrow is NTI day 11, and I will open that up probably this afternoon. So I open them up a day early, so if you have a chance to jump in and do the reading, you can. This keeps everyone on the same page. It also makes sure that the live sessions are covering the same chapters, because if I have students who are reading NTI day number 7's chapter and we have a live class session and they're asking questions, no one's going to know what they're talking about. So our class will continue, day to day, completing those assignments in succession, just like you would in the classroom. So we're trying to replicate the classroom environment as it is normally delivered in class at school. So there will not be a session tomorrow. I will do a recording though, and put a recording up going over the chapter. So even though I won't be live, I will put the recording up. In fact, I may put the recording up today. So if you were wanting to get a head start on tomorrow's work, you can probably finish that later today. For today's work, we have the chapter that's in there, our live class session, which we're working on right now. And I put in a new feature. Well, it's not a new feature. It's a different feature you guys haven't had before. And it's a question. The question is a choice question, and it is almost like a poll. So you're not going to lose points for this, but it's just a way for you guys to gauge your understanding of the chapter for today. So it says in the reading for today, what does Paul find on his dad's computer? So he finds some information, and it gives you a couple of choices. It gives you the choice of adoption papers with his name on them, Eric's football scholarships, job offers back in Houston. So there's a few choices you have, and if you answer the correct one, it'll show in a poll. So if you go and view these responses, you can see, I'm not sure, yeah, I guess I can see who responds to what, but you may not see, you may or may not see who responded what. So if you get the answer wrong, well, that's not a big deal. You just have to make sure you go back, look at the reading, and understand what you did wrong. I'm going to stop my sharing here real quick so I can check the chat and see if there's been any questions. Okay. No questions from the chat at this point. Okay, so we'll go back to screen sharing. Okay, share screen. Here we go. And So if you look past tomorrow, you'll see Wednesdays is up there, but you can't see the content. Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then that's where we were told to stop, because that, I believe, is the start of spring break. And now that we have to do topics 17 through 27, you're going to see these grayed out blank topic areas, and that's what I'm going to be working on today and tomorrow, is putting the content into them, the day, the date, the NTID number, so that you guys can easily find the information. And I have all the way up through topics 27. In that bottom area, that's the hidden area where I was trying to make the course a little bit more navigatable or easier to use for you guys when we were in class, since we've gone full on distance learning online class delivery. It's gotten a little bit more, a lot more content's been put into Moodle. So that's where we at. In the meetings that we've had, as you know, we're going to be out till the 27th, I think, or something like that, or May 3rd, possibly. We'll just take it day by day. Let me see, what else did they mention? Still having some issues with a lot of students not having logged in and done any work. That is for my class, as well as other 7th grade teachers classes. I've been speaking with Mrs. Markham and Mrs. Madden. I believe they have you guys working on IXL work. Make sure you're doing that. I will say that the workload for you guys is supposed to be around 35 minutes. Don't kill yourselves trying to do NTI work for hours on end just to get like a higher score in one of these programs. You want to make sure you're balancing your day. So you should have about 35, 40 minutes per class time each day, and you'll be doing good. That gives you, like, I think it's a 3.5, 4-hour class day with those times. Trying to see what other, let me look at my notes from the meeting. Pretty much it's just been about teachers coming in and completing the NTI work. Teachers are contacting home. And I don't know if this applies to you guys, but for the student body as a whole, for all my 7th graders, my priority right now is contacting students and parents who have not been doing NTI work. So if you're like, you guys are doing the NTI work, you're participating in the live sessions, you're not my concern at this point. And you're getting some communication through Moodle, through the discussion board, through the live class sessions. My priority right now is contacting students that haven't had any contact and haven't done any work. Once I think this, I speak kind of for other teachers when I say this, and once we get to that point of reaching those students, then we'll reach out to other students. Now, that doesn't mean if you don't have a question or a problem that we're not going to answer you by any means at all. So please email, message, call, whatever mode of communication you have to reach your teachers. If you have a question or concern, use those communication methods. So as we move forward, this week I did stop at the dollar store. I am getting set up to do some grafting with plants, so that kind of relates with the novel as we're reading it this week. That video will be a live class session. I might do it down in my basement greenhouse, so to speak. I do have some tomato plants and basil plants that would work. They're just taking and getting a little bit, the root systems are kind of getting a little bit stronger right now, since I just have gotten that set up. So that should be an interesting class for you guys. Tell your friends. I'd like to see a lot more students in the live session. I'm working on that through calls and emails and all that. Let me check the chat real quick to see if there's been any questions. I can't.
Oh my God, I see him. I'm on here.
Can't see the chat when I'm
Why the crap does it say that?
There's a lot of people here. Okay, how long have they pushed it back? I think you're referring to the days. They're back to, I think, April 27th, I think. Don't hold me to that, but somewhere in that realm. maybe it's April 20th. Yeah, I think it's April 20th. Mrs. Parmentier has corrected me. So April 20th, but they did tell us to prepare lessons through May 3rd. So kind of gives you some idea. And again, it's really gonna depend on probably the number of cases and how the local government, state government, and federal government are proceeding with the response to the coronavirus. So a lot of questions up in the air. I can't really answer that for sure. So I think that's pretty much everything we've been talking about in our teacher meetings. Haven't heard anything back on the laptops. That'll probably take a few days. So let's see here. Yeah, I guess we can jump into the chapter. So I'm going to go back to screen sharing. It doesn't look like there's any questions in the chat. So let's go back to the screen and share. Okay, so today's reading was Tangerine, Wednesday, October 4th. And again, we have those chapters that launch us a little bit forward. In the last chapter, we learned that Paul has a new assignment, and that assignment is to identify agricultural products in Florida that are interesting, that are they're aware of. His friends happen to have a tangerine tree farm, and he's going to do his report on a new type of tangerine variety that I believe it was Lewis. I might be off on that. Yeah, I think it was Lewis invented. So that brings us to the reading for today, and let me see here. Paul begins working on his report since he has a computer in his dad's office that he can use and a laptop. And his mom's having a homeowners association meeting. They're going to be talking about the termite problem and the tenting of houses and some break-ins that have happened. And so all the people come over for the homeowner association meeting. Paul's attention is kind of captured because they were talking about the koi pond, which is quite funny because Paul knows, and I bet you guys can type in what's responsible for all of the koi going missing in the pond. We know the answer. Paul knows the answer, but the homeowners association is still kind of struggling with this. And if you remember from the reading, it is the ospreys that have now completely wiped out all of the koi that the homeowners association has paid to put into the pond. And they're trying to figure this out. And Paul overhears this, and he's like, well, I guess they'll have to figure out for themselves. It's the osprey. So they know what koi and osprey look like? Yeah. And osprey is the big bird that we looked at, the great big huge bird. They also were having trouble with break-ins, which is kind of strange because the houses that were being broken into in the chapter were the homes that were tented. Probably not wise to break into one of those homes because they're filled with toxic gas. So there's kind of a mystery going on there. Then it kind of diverts in the chapter, and Paul ends up looking on his dad's computer, and he finds a file on the computer, and that file, I'm looking for it here in the reading. He finds a file that talks about Eric's football scholarship offers. And prior to that, they were talking about lawyers and suing for the robberies because they thought the company doing the tenting should provide security. Kind of muddled on there for a little bit. Then in the file, he says he finds he saw a file listing that had definitely not been there before. I would never have missed seeing this. Eric scholarship offers. He looked around for Dad. He and Mom were saying goodbye to people in the foyer, and so he decided to open the file. The file was 2 pages long. It was carefully designed, like someone had spent a lot of time thinking about it. Each page was filled with rectangular boxes stacked on top of each other. But get this, the boxes were light green football fields with white grid lines and 10-yard intervals. Over the green and white folds printed in red were vital statistics. Each box contained the name of a university, its address and phone number, and the name of its head football coach. The top 3 boxes on page 1 were set up for the University of Florida, Florida State University, and the University of Miami. Ohio State had a box on page 1, so did Notre Dame, Penn State, and University of Nebraska. It didn't look like any of these schools had expressed any interest in Eric, not yet. I scrolled to page 2 and found that some had. So Rice University, Baylor University, and the University of Houston had sent letters to Eric. From the dates of the letters, they must have all have contacted him at the same time, right after his junior year season in Houston. Dad apparently had not written back to any of them. I heard the front door close, so I quickly clicked out of the file, but he says he'll be back. So that's the end of the reading for today. And Paul kind of finds that his dad was actually keeping track of all of these scholarship offers and responding to them, probably on Eric's behalf. Since Paul says he's going to be back, he's probably going to look back at this file. But remember the blooper, the news story about Eric not kicking the ball and falling and kind of being a spectacle, that might come back in the chapters further ahead. So that's the reading for today, and it's pretty light. I think we had a whole 2, maybe 3 pages. So that kind of recaps the reading for today, and it brings us to our question. So I'm going to jump back to our question, and the answer, of course, is in the reading for today, what does Paul find in his dad's computer? And it would be the B, I guess. It'd be Eric's football scholarships. So if you answered that, good job doing the reading. We're staying on track. And this week, the chapters, as Paul works on his lesson, will lead us into that grafting. And we'll try to do that in a live session. And we'll check back on it to see how our grafts do with the plants. I'm going to go back to the chat and stop the sharing and see if there are any questions. So do any of you have questions for today? If you do, you can turn your audio on, or you can put it in the chat. Either way. So looks like we're good. All right. Again, tomorrow there will not be a live session. However, there will be a recorded session that goes over the reading for tomorrow. And I'm going to be working over today and tomorrow diligently to get the next 10 days of NTI work up. And I'm going to try to do things that are a little bit different. Like today we had the choice question in there versus a quiz. And do take the quiz from yesterday if you have not had a chance to. It's a real short 10-question quiz. Looks like a lot of you are staying up on the work. And if you have friends, remind them to go on to Google Classroom for their other teachers' work and Moodle so that they're not falling behind. I'll ask one more time. Are there any questions for today before we end? Doesn't look like it. Remember, if you do have questions you think of afterwards, you can post them in the discussion. I do make it a point to check that, and I do get emails with the discussions. So, or you can email me directly. If you're wondering where the discussion board is, I'm sharing my screen again. It is right here. Help post questions and concerns here. So if you need help, post everything in here. And there's not been any new postings. I updated this from the other day, and I will continue to update it if I find out any pertinent information and important information when we're not in live session or whatnot. And if you subscribe to that, you will also get an email if you have your email set properly in your profile. I'm going to stop the sharing, check the questions, and all right, there are no questions. So hang in there, guys. I think you're doing good. I hope to have a couple of more interesting live sessions this week with some more hands-on type things. It'd be more fun if we could do it in class person to person, but I think I can set it up downstairs to do some plant stuff. I think it'll be pretty good. So that's what we have to look forward to this week, and we will keep going on. So if there's nothing else, everyone have a great day. Bye, guys.